I can tell you where it started. I was 6 years old, and I remember sitting cross-legged on the veranda with my magnifying glass. A present from my stepdad. He thought I'd grow up to be a scientist. Angling it just right so that the light would shine and point directly on the ant that I had been stalking. I remember the sizzle and the way they would squirm. Then a plop, and it'd explode. Later, I'd catch bugs and spiders. I'd pin them to a wall and watch them die slowly. Oh, the control. The power. It was my world, and I was a god. It didn't stop there. You'd eventually get bored of the little things. My first real kill was my sister Annie's cat. Well, you know how aloof cats can be. The fucking animal hated me, so I taught it a lesson. And my sister, for that matter, always calling me weird and a freak. I strangled it with my bare hands, then hung its head from a hook above her bed so she'd see it first thing in the morning when she woke up. They sent me to a shrink after that. I was cleverer than him, though. And 2 months later, he'd sent me home with a "boys will just be boys" speech to my parents. So I kept things quiet for a while. Snakes, rats, birds. Well, any small animal I could get my hands on, in fact. There's a great sense of power watching something die, staring into its eyes as it draws its last breath. It's almost pleasurable. I've always been a loner. No friends at school or college. Not anybody's fault. I just don't like people much. But I liked her. Justine. Her hair like milk chocolate that ran down her back with bright emerald eyes. Like Annie's cat. She was soft. I tried to talk to her. I even sent her a letter telling her how I feel, but she just ignored me. Then I heard her telling her friend that she thought I was a freak. That word again. No one was supposed to call me that. Especially not her. She worked at the coffee shop at the center of town. I knew she was working that night, and that she would lock up. I'd seen her do it before. I waited till she'd locked the doors and grabbed her from behind and stuffed a tissue soaked in chloroform over her face. She sagged into my arms, and I put her in my car. We drove back to my room, and I carried her in. She looked so beautiful lying on my bed. I stripped her naked and tied her to the post of my bed and spent all night watching her sleep. She woke the next afternoon. Silly bitch started screaming, so I had to stick her panties in her mouth. She didn't listen to me. I kept telling her how beautiful she was, but she started crying and struggling. We made love for the next few days, and she pretended to struggle. She cried often. She must have really been moved by it. I fed her properly every day. I washed her and took her to the toilet. I treated her like a princess. Any woman would have been thankful for all the attention. On the last night, she bit me while we were making love. So I pulled her panties out of her mouth and wrapped them around her neck. I watched her eyes as she drew her last breath. The pleasure, the power, the release.